what does it do to help educate in the entertainment industry or in the peer review? Because we have ufologists and we have the nuts and bolts people that, they think they're investigators because they've been talking to people. But I was a bona fide paid professional, private investigator, then a legal investigator, then a government investigator, and then, FBI files that use me as a consultant or turn in their reports to me, and then I'd send them into the Navy and the JAG. So I've got all kind of experience as an investigator in writing up findings of fact. But still, some of these people in this peer review group, Mutual UFO Network, think they're better investigators because they've got stories in their area or something about UFOs. So they say, well, I'm not. So I don't get it. So I'm not sure where to go with this.
We have the same problem in biotech. It's you have people that have published extensively and have multiple PhDs and a Nobel Prize and this and that. Yet they've never brought a drug to market ever. Never had a success in anything on that front, but they love to point to their 100 publications on certain scientific pieces of information. Yet the major wins, let's say, in what we do in this industry, many of them, when you go back in history, from penicillin to opiates to insulin to aspirin, a lot of them were just scientific bumbles. Mistakes, the accidents that happened in the lab. So you have to take a lot of that with a grain of salt, and stick with what you believe in and your direction. And if someone says, "Wow, I have X many more experiences," or whatever they like to promote.
Compare
in your side of the world, compare whatever. You take that with a grain of salt.
Well, could you give us a model? Would you be willing to give us just a basic course and scope for alienology, the word alienology? I mean, I know you're extremely intelligent and you write this stuff up for other things, but could you just give us a simple outline for our association, just for alienology, and maybe use one of your things that went into space to show us the best way to at least get...
I could definitely do something like that. We
need somebody to step. Here's why, and here's a model to begin the distribution of alienology reports, because we have we have J. Allen Hynek to guide us for ufology, and we have CE 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But it's very simple, and they put it in a guidebook for Mutual UFO Network. And I saw it a long time ago when we were going to tear it apart. And then Kathy Martin was helping for the hypnosis regression experiencer stuff. And now they've got experiencer questionnaire. Janet and I don't agree with that much because it's all about abductees. And we know there's contactees and experiencers. But now we're starting to develop a whole new field besides alienology, phenomenology, cosmology, and ufology. So they're ologies, but we don't have a lead investigator or lead. In the government, I have to write it up like, a team, 5 people, and I'm the lead investigator. TJ, to set this up for your new company. Just a form, and we'll give you credit and all that. Because we have, you can look at Daryl Sims. He's our first entertainment-wise alienologist, and he was a CIA agent, and he traveled in and out of country. He would travel with some of the great Stanton Friedman, Nick Pope. Those are in our field, former ufologists. But they never.
TJ, what do you? You keep breaking up, and
you're going out.
What are you asking? You keep
am I breaking up? Okay, I'm sorry. Well, anyway, you said yes, so I'll give it back to you. Janet, talk to him about alienology, and I'll mute.
Well, I had a quick question. I don't know if it's me or you, but I kept going in and out, like it's only here every third or fourth word. So earlier on, we mentioned Silva mind control. Was that you, Ira? Or was that...
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay, yeah, okay, because I didn't know what was going on. What do you think about things like silver mind control was? Oh, that was Jan. He was talking about it, right? Yeah, and he said he was able to. Oh, he scored better on this test, right?
He was talking about sort of accessing information he didn't know, and somehow he knew it.
Right.
Via some unknown mechanism. Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about that the mind is more than the brain.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a friend, Neil Freer, and he was dying. His heart was failing, and he was dying. And he said, one of the last things he said is, well, I'm going to freeze my head. Right?
Okay.
For hopes that they'll revive him sometime. He'll have
cryonics. Mm-hmm.
Cryonics. What do you think of all that? We have the silver mind control. These people are able to access a part of their brain, pull in information that's not by the normal sense of studying, knowing answers. We have that phenomenon. We have people that want to live forever, and they're talking about transferring consciousness into computers, freezing the brain. So what's going on with all that stuff? What are your thoughts or ideas?
I know, once again, I hang out because of the aging research in some of these areas. I know some of the cryonics folks. I think, clearly we're very good, or we've gotten to the point as a scientific community of freezing or vitrifying, as the current technology, in essence, very quickly turning something to glass. But we do it with extremely poisonous materials nowadays. And the unfortunate chances of coming back or not to use crude tech terms, but thawing somebody successfully today with some of these methods is kind of remote. That being said, I do believe that there may be, based on some of what we're working on in terms of neuroregeneration, that there may be a midpoint between dying and cryonically vitrifying somebody. And this is what we know, we're talking a little bit about biologic suspended animation, whereby one could be kept in a state where they are worked on, and some of these technologies are put to sort of the clinical realm. And I say this because once it's sort of getting onto a side topic, but the human body, when dead, supported appropriately with nutrition, with hormones, with, of course, cardiopulmonary abilities, can last a very long time. Dead people can do, with the right support, a lot of things. They can circulate, digest, metabolize food, grow, sexually mature, have babies, heal wounds, spike fevers. It's really, unfortunate that when we die, we're really quite alive. And so I believe that, cryonics is, it's an interesting topic, but I think there's going to be something that replaces it, that's a little more what we'll call translatable, and makes a little more sense than, just turning you into a piece of glass, which like you won't come back from. All of that being said, even if it was perfect at this point, there's probably more to it than saving your head. And while that is a path that I know the cryonics industry sells people on as a cheaper alternative to whole body cryopreservation, we cannot ignore the fact that a lot more information processing occurs in your body outside of the brain. It is very well demonstrated nowadays that your heart, your bones, your pancreas, it's even been demonstrated in schools of sperm that seek an egg. There is electrochemical communication going on between all of the cells, and these are not neural tissues. We also remember, none of us had brains for several weeks when we were growing and forming in our mothers. The brain came later. And in many species, you have organisms out there that don't have brains at all, jellyfish and a hydra and so forth, that communicate quite well with other parts of their body. But then you have other interesting organisms like octopuses, as an example, that have really tiny brains, but their peripheral nervous system is distributed throughout their tentacles and acts like a brain 3 times the size of the human brain. So there's a lot more information processing occurring in the body than we currently are given credit for. And going back to what TJ was saying about genetic information in the level of the gene and so forth, there's quite a bit going on that I think in the ideal scenario you probably want to preserve your entire body and not just your head.
Well, can we say that we can do the phenomenology? Does epistemology fall under phenomenology? Because I like to say alienology, cosmology, phenomenology, ufology, but I got started in ethnology, ontology, epistemology,
right.
But there was another one. So the theory of knowledge.
Yeah, epistemology.
And also taxonomy, but how do we bring all this together? Because, anthropology, her husband has a PhD in anthropology, and when I was working in Kentucky, I had to put my folk life at the University of Kentucky when I was working with children in newspapers and people as a volunteer folk life goes under anthropology. But what I'm trying to do is I need help organizing just words and people and getting them into this alienology separate from ufology. In other words, nuts and bolts versus Janet and I are experiencers. We fall under the belief of aliens, or what you maybe call not the brain and the brain that drives the not of Earth origin crafts, possibly. And we are into the biological part, that it has thoughts, because I've experienced it. It goes into the AI, but Jan and I have both talked about biological craft. So we need to get into this, and this is the most extreme cutting edge out there with AI and biological AI and epistemology and knowing it. It sounds like a sci-fi movie. But I guess it's going to go under alienology, but can you help me out here? I'm looking for somebody smart like yourself and this more scientific than I am.
You're looking for a term or what the platform is to bring it all together?
A platform to bring it all together for like MUFON. Like if Janet and I get involved.
Yeah, it would be, it would be from my domain. It would be, a breakout session amongst everything else going on that combined so-called astrobiology, extremophilic life, let's say. So you combine astrobiology, extremophilic life, and then what we'll call biologic information processing. I have to think a little bit more about terminology.
Would you do that for me? Yeah. Seriously, I'm very serious. Serious as a heart attack, as they say in folk life or in colloquialisms. But Janet and I even have trouble with words and colloquialisms and phrases, and we need to know how to, because we're on the cutting edge, and there's no people really willing to put their neck out because they have PhDs or they have to pay for school or jobs. And she and I are retired, but we have volunteer groups. We have associations.